out. Spawning over in the top right-hand side here, representing Team Root, it is Creature on Data C.
Opponent in the bottom left, it's Trigger, playing for Basilisk. Yeah, looking really strong. Even winning an ESL Open Cup not too long ago. That was a pretty impressive one.
He's a nice, quiet lad, you know? I get very much Neebish vibes from him. When Neeb first started his career, where it was, you know, shy, kept himself to himself, but was pretty damn good. My favorite Trigger moment when it comes to the broadcast is we interviewed him one time, and it was like, oh, you know, how's your practice been going and stuff? And he was like, super well. And I was like, oh, you know, can you tell me more? He's like, I 4-0'd Spats. And it's like, just totally called out his practice partner that he owned him. And it was just like, wow, he's probably not going to practice with you anymore. But I loved it, you know, I like the confidence, because I've also been there where it's like, I practice with good players and I'd be like, yeah, I beat so-and-so. But you know, you shouldn't really say it, but because you're young, you can get away with it. But yeah, he's been really good recently, and looking forward to see where he ends up as well.
Yeah, I think he's one of the favorites of this group. Like, he really has been quietly making a name for himself over the last year or so. It's actually really cool to have like newcomers in SC2, right? I mean, for the longest time, we've been casting the same players, and obviously they're getting better because they're pushing one another. But it's been a little bit quiet when it comes to the newcomers to the game. And yeah, Trigger, I think he's 20 years old, or maybe 19 years old, something like that. And he's been improving rapidly at the game. You and me have been playing this game for a long time, man, but he probably does not remember Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm.
No, probably didn't even touch them, you know? Like, who knows? But it's good to have some fresh blood and then some fresh faces for your YouTube casting as well, you know? Just keeping it fresh and all jazzy and whatnot. And already we see a little bit of deviation here. It is Creature, the one going for the Stargate, and it's Trigger that's being a cheeky boy. Yeah. In fact, he's pulling the trigger here.
A whole lot of gateways coming up on his side of the map. He's looking to see if he can win this game nice and early. Should be pretty good against the Stargate opener, shouldn't it?
Absolutely should. Absolutely should. He's going to throw a pylon down at the front as well. Be like, hey man, can't scout me, even if you wanted to. And it stops any sort of adept shenanigans as well. Very often after you do a gateway on the low ground, getting an adept out on the map is always a possibility. I'm just curious, is he going to go for a 5th gateway and just make it like a proxy, or is he just going to slow warp in? Oh no. Phoenix, your first unit of choice? That's maybe the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, that's not where you're looking for. Ideally, you want to get an Oracle on the other side of the map and start dealing some damage to really, force Trigger to pull the trigger, but he's going to start chrono boosting out the Warp Gate research. This is one of the classic builds, right? Maybe he didn't play Wings of Liberty, but he's certainly got the Wings of Liberty vibe going on in this game so far.
Oh, and, you know, very often it's like, why an Oracle is scared? And very, very often you can fly left and fly over that pylon, and it's like, frick, yeah, but ideally you want to get out Void Rays, man, but we're going to see what he does.
Yeah,
he still doesn't quite know what's coming yet, even though it's so close to him. In fact, I'm going to look at Creature's vision. He's still hanging back, so I think he knows something's coming, he just doesn't know what.
Okay, well, he's going to find out right now as the Stalkers are ready to march straight into the natural. There is one shield battery, but only powered by a single pylon, and the probes are pulled a little later than you needed to. It's not going to happen.
Well, that was a very, very sad shield battery, and now everything is depowered. The gateway, the Stargate. This is a terrible start for Creature, and after just losing a series to start off this game like this, and oh my god, that is so many Stalkers. This is over.
Yeah, no, this is way too many Stalkers right now. Like, even if he repowers that wall once again, it doesn't really matter. GG is called. Trigger wins a very quick game number 1.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like PvP, it got to this point where it's like, oh, the 1 gate expand. Like, you know, this is how you play. Holy crap, that's a huge jug of water. Holy crap.
He's got one of those gallon bottles. I like that, man. Just get 1 bottle for every day. You don't have to worry about it. Just finish it and you'll be fine.
This is how I know I'm a gamer, because I think it's a really good idea, but I've drank out. Okay, I'll show you my glass. I got like a pint glass next to me, right? And Alice, my girlfriend, she'd be like, "Oh, you got a massive thing as well. Okay, it's nothing. You got nothing on trigger though." And she'd be like,
No.
That's way too big a glass, Ben, for the PC. I'm like, what? Babe, where are you? You need to see Trigger with that freaking gallon bottle. That was massive. But yeah, I think it's a good idea personally.
Now you just have to get up and refill it like 7 times a day. That's, maybe that's actually a good thing. Maybe that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's actually good to move around, like, but yeah. That game definitely. I've seen so many PvPs in the last week also already that have just been like, "Hey man, you try and go for this gateway expand stuff. I'm just going to kill you." And for a while I was thinking, "Wow, this one gate expand, it's kind of impossible to stop." But the recent change, and when I say recent, within the past year, that feels recent in StarCraft 2 terms, like Void Ray building slower, being
entire esports have come and gone between.
Yeah, then. Exactly. It being more expensive as well. Really, really kind of put a real spanner in the works when it comes to these players knowing how to hold things. But yeah, that game, that was just Trigger turning up and just slamming him.
All right, game number 2 is just loaded up on the map of Waterfall. I think we're ready to jump in, so here we go. Bottom left-hand corner, currently 1-0 behind, it's Creature.
And spawning over in the top right as our blue Protoss is Trigger. Do you have a preference for which base you like to spawn in on this map, given they're both different tile sets?
I personally don't care. I know Roddy feels very strongly about the spawn location. He explained it to me at some point. I think it had to do with like fighting up versus fighting down or something like that. I've never really noticed a difference.
To be on the bottom.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah,
he wants to fight up, it's better?
Yeah, he's a bottom. Always has been. But
okay, good for him.
It's about I think from his thing, it's about how you have like the interface on the bottom. So seeing upwards is a lot easier, which it is. It does make sense rather than like looking down. You know what I mean?
It makes sense, but I've never really noticed it in my own games. And I'm afraid that if I focus on it too much, I'll start noticing it too. And then suddenly, it becomes harder to play the game. And it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. It's really not. Like, but I've noticed as I've got older as well, like, my superstitions have come into play a bit more, where it's like, oh, if I shaved in a different way, or like, let's say I shaved in a certain way, and it's like, oh, that day went really good. And then if I don't do it exactly the same, then the next day goes bad, and I'm like, oh, it's because I didn't shave properly, damn it. But yeah, silly old man stuff. Oh, Trigger man, he is just looking to be super aggressive. Yep. I'm going to guess it's going to be a robo this game.
Could definitely be. Once again, going for that proxy pylon in the middle of the map.
You're not going to guess?
Well, I mean, it should be a robo here. I mean, he's got gas for a Stargate if he wants to, but it's a bit of a funky spot for it. He goes for a gateway. Ha!
That's what I'm saying. You just have to guess. It's a guess roulette, but 3 gates, that is enough to be very aggro with. That's the kind of gateways where you just throw all your chronos on the warp gate from this point on, I think. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's liking his gateways quite a bit so far in this series. It's kind of funny how we're talking about Wings of Liberty and how he probably didn't play it. Okay, it's got spotted though. So, Creature, I mean, he didn't turn around there, but he probably just didn't want to show that he's already seen it. Zealot is going to start working.
Yeah, that Zealot being at the pylon, that's already quite annoying for Trigger. He is doing that thing with the warp gate being chrono boosted, but the fact that he knows aggression is on his way, he wanted to keep that probe hidden in the main base, but we'll be able to... Yeah, should be able to keep it alive for a little bit until that Stalker comes along, but he definitely wants to get the pressure going. But Creature, this is a very different game, because he can actually just start off by making Void Rays this time, rather than having 2 Phoenix that can't accomplish much.
No, he did bring another pylon towards the middle of the map just to make sure that he can continuously warp in. The Creature now definitely has a lot of time to prepare against this sort of thing. That being said, yeah, he doesn't have much to deal with this just yet. That one probe in the main base still being very obnoxious as his build a pylon.
And that shield battery will fall. That's already kind of nice. He will be joined by a few more Stalkers fairly soon. That gateway is finishing up. Warp gate is done now as well. Going to 4 gates here. He might be able to get a little bit of damage right before the shield batteries are done and right before this Void Ray is out, but he's being careful, and rightly so. If you don't have enough Stalkers to scare that Void Ray and it just shoots at you, well, that bad boy deals a lot of damage with that prismatic alignment.
Yeah, so Trigger's actually is doubling down. Despite the fact that he's been spotted left, right, and center, he's like, okay, no, this was the plan from the start of the game, and I'm going to keep doing it anyways. Okay, there's the battery overcharge. It's going to be very helpful. He decides to back off once again. But yeah, slowly but surely that Void Ray count is going to grow. And obviously, Prismatic Alignment is going to be fantastic against these Stalkers.
It is, but I'm always so scared for the Protoss that's making the Stalkers.
Oof.
Oh my goodness. I'm scared for the Stalker. Oh my goodness. He's keeping those Void Rays alive so well. But, oh my goodness. Okay. One does finally go down, but that was nice by Creature to try and keep them alive. But is there just too much Trigger at this point? He wasn't producing a Void Ray this whole time. He was focused way too much on the micro.
Yeah, no, he was not producing there for quite a while. He spotted on the other side of the map that his opponent didn't expend, so maybe he was making the assumption that there's no way this guy's actually going to continue the aggression after getting spotted so many times, right? Well, it turns out Trigger just continuously warped in Stalkers. This is the most basic Protoss versus Protoss strategy. It seems like it's working.
I mean, honestly, this strategy... Okay, that was a nice shield battery to keep the Stargate alive, but... You know what I feel's missing in these kind of defenses very often? I'm not sure you can even afford it. Like a Forge with cannons or something. But, you know, when you get enough Stalkers, you can bully around a Void Ray like that. Because the Void Ray has to stay still if it wants to shoot or chase. It can't run away and float away. Nice force field again by Creature, but that is so many Stalkers.
All right, so yeah, he shuts down the Void Ray up in the air. Now the Stargate is gone as well. The probes get pulled away from their mineral lines. They're going to be able to at least mineral walk through those Stalkers for a bit. Just confuse this for a while, but this, yeah, just evens up the work account. And there's really not a whole lot of production right here for Creature at all. Just a good amount of Stalkers straight up the ramp. GG.
Wow, that, man, can you imagine if